The fastest way to ruin your first Ironman has absolutely nothing to do with fitness. It's not missing sessions. It's not having the perfect bike. It's not whether your FTP is high enough. It's comparison. And this catches nearly everybody. At some point during Ironman training, you stop focusing on your own race and start quietly panicking about everybody else's. You go on Strava, somebody's done a 6-hour ride, someone else has smashed a huge run. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. Suddenly, instead of trusting your own process, you start asking yourself, am I behind? Should I be doing more? I know, I've done it. Have I completely underestimated this? And here's the problem. The moment you start emotionally reacting to everybody else's training, your own training usually starts falling apart. You train too hard, you stop recovering properly, and you lose confidence. In this next episode, I want to tell you why comparison quietly ruins so many first Ironmans, why your brain gets pulled into it, and probably the biggest mindset shift that makes training feel far less stressful. Because the people who do best in Ironman usually stay in their own lane the longest. So first, let's talk about what comparison actually looks like, because it usually starts quite innocently. You're training, things feel okay. Then you check Strava, you ask your mates what they're doing, or you compare training programs with what your friend's doing. Big mistake. You see somebody else's session, they're faster, longer ride, more power, or faster paces. In their training runs, they're probably running their zone 2s too fast, just a little secret. Maybe somebody else posts easy zone 2 spin and somehow their easy ride looks harder than your race pace, exactly what I just alluded to a few seconds ago. Immediately your brain starts spiraling. Maybe I'm not doing enough. Should I add volume? Am I too slow? What if everyone else is way more prepared than me? And this gets amplified massively during an Ironman build because the event feels so big. Most importantly, if it's your first one, this is so pertinent. You want certainty. That's where a coach can help. You want reassurance. You want proof you're on track. It's interesting, I get asked that quite a lot. What markers are you looking at, Andy, in the training, or do you think we're on track? It's funny, I used to do that as well. So naturally you start looking sideways, and it's completely normal. And actually, one of the biggest mistakes I've found, some athletes pivot and get a new coach when they should have been just trusting the process. I know a lot of coaches, if they're watching this, they'll be smiling. But here's the issue. The more you compare, the less you trust yourself. Big problem, because Ironman requires trust. Trust is the process, trust in consistency, trust in delayed progress, that delayed gratification. The second trust that disappears, training starts becoming emotional instead of intentional. There's a big difference there. Now, race weekend comparison. This gets even worse around race day. And if you've done this already, you'll know exactly what I mean. You arrive at the race village. It's normally like a Thursday before a Sunday race, okay? The nerves are starting to ramp up. You see everyone else, they're all walking around. Suddenly everyone looks like they've been genetically engineered for triathlon. Everyone somehow looks calm and prepared. Bear in mind, for example, Ironman leads, I think 65% of the field were first timers. So there's no ways people were calm and prepared. Meanwhile, you're standing there thinking, I've made a terrible mistake, completely normal again. But here's something important to understand. You are comparing their outside to your inside. You've absolutely no idea what's happening for them. The person who looks incredibly fit could completely implode pacing-wise. The nervous beginner could absolutely nail their race. Ironman has a funny way of humbling everybody, because confidence at race check-in means very little. The patience wins, the execution wins, the consistency wins, and the people who usually struggle are often the people trying to prove something. Why comparison is broken? Here's why it becomes dangerous. You're not comparing like for like at all. You're comparing different genetics, different training history, different recovery capacity, and different work stress. Now, family commitments. Generally, the average age of Ironman athletes, probably 45 to 55. Yes, there's some youngsters watching this, but if you look at the demographics, it's above 35 years old. So most people have 1 to 2 children. Different age completely. Different injury history, different race goals. Someone training 16 hours a week might not have kids, might not have a stressful job, might have done endurance sport for 10 years already, just maybe not triathlon. Meanwhile, you're trying to train around real life, work, family, sleep, stress, and some are expecting the same output. Makes no sense. Here's the line I want you to remember. You're comparing somebody else's context to your insecurity. That usually lands quite hard because most of the time we aren't actually comparing fairly. We're selectively comparing ourselves in areas we already feel insecure about. Swimming, the weight aspect of things, fitness, bike speed, whatever it is, power numbers. And all comparison does is amplify the thing you're already worried about. This is actually one of the reasons generic Ironman plans can become quite misleading in some instances or dangerous, because the moment you stop trusting the process, you start emotionally reacting to what everyone else is doing. And it's so common. It's okay, but suddenly you adding sessions, changing things randomly, training harder than you should. If you're unsure if your training is moving in the right direction, I do offer some consults where we basically deep dive into your training. We look at where you're at, where your goals are, what's working, what's not, and build a proper plan around you. Sort of an alternative to full one-to-one coaching. If that's useful, details are below. Right, back to comparison. The panic session. This is probably the biggest mistake comparison creates, the panic session. You've had a good week, everything's going fine. Then you see somebody else's numbers and suddenly you panic. So you add volume, ride harder, push your run pace. You skip recovery. I know I've done those hero big days, 7-hour day, 8-hour day. You try catch up. Another thing that people do, they backload their week because they haven't started the week how they intentionally actually wanted to, and they're catching up from Wednesday. By Friday, you're exhausted and then do a massive weekend. This happens constantly. And I repeat myself constantly to the athletes, but they're getting better. So my job is getting easier. And it's one of the fastest way people ruin an Ironman build, because here's the thing, you aren't training smarter anymore, you're reacting emotionally. And emotional training decisions are usually bad decisions, but like relationships, especially in endurance sport. Ironman rewards consistency. You hear me say this all the time, and it took me absolute over 10 races, Ironmans, to probably figure this out. I realized it's actually not about those hero big days and the key sessions, the 10x400s or the 4-hour ride at Ironman pace. It was just I strung 12-hour weeks together for about 14 weeks and had a great race. But I do have a training history potentially longer than you watching this, so I do put my hand up to that. Not random heroic sessions. Nobody wins Ironman training by smashing themselves for 2 weeks. You win by stacking boring, sensible work for months. You only have to look at the Norwegians, the Sam Longs of the world, the Lionel Sanders, but also take that with a bit of pinch of salt. So that's what people underestimate. The hidden cost of comparison, here's the stuff nobody talks about enough. Comparison doesn't just affect training, it actually affects your confidence. Now, I spoke about motivation, confidence earlier in the series. You can go back and look at that. Quietly, you stop enjoying sessions. Everything feels like proof you're behind. Oh, bad run, panic. I missed a session, panic. But no one knows the context why you missed that, and actually you're better off sometimes missing a few days. Someone else improves faster, panic. Training becomes stressful, and eventually people stop trusting themselves. This is where beginners usually struggle, not because they aren't fit enough, because they've lost confidence in their own process. And when confidence disappears, consistency usually disappears with it. Here's the winning shift. So what's the alternative? Simple. Stop asking, am I faster than them? Ask, am I becoming more prepared for my race? That's the better question. Because Ironman is not school, nobody hands out medals for training the hardest. The only thing that matters is, can you execute your race? Can you stay healthy? Can you stay consistent? That point about health is crucial, and do periodic blood checks. I offer that for a lot of my athletes I coach, because it's really fundamental what's going on with your body internally. Can you stay consistent? Can you trust the work? The people who tend to do best in an Ironman aren't obsessing over everybody else. It's so hard to do. They stay in their own lane for longer, and they stop letting somebody else's training dictate their emotions. That's the shift. And if you find yourself constantly second-guessing your training, wondering if you're doing enough, whether your plan actually makes sense, or whether you're heading in the right direction, sometimes getting a second set of eyes on things makes a massive difference. do some consults where we properly deep dive into your training, strengths, weaknesses, race goals, build some clarity around what actually makes sense for you, sort of an alternative. If that's useful, as I said before, details below in the description, no pressure. There will always be someone faster, someone fitter, someone doing more. That never ends. The question is, can you trust your own process anyway? Because the next one we're talking about is something that's close to me and I've been through it, identity. And the weird moment during Ironman training where something shifts and you stop wondering if you're capable and start becoming the kind of person who actually does hard things. And he has a great book called Do Hard Things, and I'll show you right now. See you later.